Hello, everyone, and welcome to, and thank you for coming to the special meeting of the Public Safety Committee. We were here to just discuss Resolution 2020, which would have been a resolution to urge Governor DeWine and the Ohio Legislature to extend the deadline for operating public meetings electronically. Apparently they passed, the Ohio legislature did pass something extending that deadline through July of 2021. So I don't believe it's necessary for us to pass this resolution. So it's in committee. So we're good to go. So we still have to have our special meeting. So because we've already joined here, that's all. I mean, it's a special meeting. That's all that was on the agenda. Everybody did get a copy of the agenda, by the way, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's the only thing that's on the agenda for today. So I believe that's the only thing that we could talk about. So we might as well just kind of stick around until 7 and start at which time we'll start the special council meeting. And I think that, there's something else on the special council meeting agenda.
Well,
Miss Underwood?
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry, Amber, I didn't mean to cut you off. But we do need to kind of get an idea from council or from the committee members that we want to move this legislation out of committee, or it can't be on that agenda.
I don't think that we need to pass this. Do you think? I mean, if we.
But it's on the agenda, then we have to take it off the agenda for the council meeting, is what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to our next meeting at 7 o'clock.
I'm
looking into the future.
If I'm following you, you says it makes the council meeting easier if you guys just go ahead and move this legislation as lame duck as it may be into.
I was like, what?
Turn it back to council.
Okay. I was like, it's I'm sleepy. That's what it is. I was like, what are you talking about?
I didn't explain it well. My bad.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
One quick theory is that it could be moved out to council, suspended the readings, and then failed by a vote.
Okay.
But outside of that, I do have a question. So, and it kind of pertains to this. I went to the city center the other day, and it appears as though it still is not ready to have like hybrid meetings.
We can't talk about that.
Well, actually, it's kind of pertaining to.
It does pertain to it.
To this legislation.
Just saying, it does pertain to it.
To the virtual
meeting.
The virtual
chime on in.
Because 2020 was about extending virtual meetings, so it seems like this is relevant to me.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
it's all good.
I agree.
So and we still don't have a TV?
I'm just trying to figure it out because I think I would focus a lot better there if I was there, me personally speaking, and there is nothing up there that is to host virtual meetings at all.
So I can tell you, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
So prior to this meeting starting, I had the opportunity to talk to ICRC to maybe narrow down any technical specifications that's needed for that TV. I have that information now. So maybe if I see Mr. Mosby is on, if that TV has not been purchased, when we get to the council meeting, if council wants to make a motion, I'll go buy the stupid thing and I'll go get it. And we'll make this a done deal and make it happen.
That sounds like a plan. I think I agree with you all that that's definitely related. I don't know how else we can get the TV done if we don't kind of take hold of it.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we had looked at the specifications. The only issue that we had is that there was a request for it to be a 70-inch screen TV, and I had mentioned the fact that those are pretty expensive. I heard I don't remember who it was, Josh, I believe today on ICRC was talking about that if the size is smaller, obviously the price can be cheaper. But that was something that Mary Jo and I had talked about, I think, the last council meeting. But that was really the issue. I would say, Joe, just being frank, I would still be concerned, particularly with the increase in number of cases, that we have with people, coming into the council chambers. Obviously, we had already a while ago, reduced the number of seats, but still, and yes, we do have, the sanitation station, and obviously we have some masks, but I would still be, I think I would be, a bit concerned about, inviting the public to come in. I mean, as a practice, we don't do that right now, except in, cases where they literally have to like drop off particular documents and things to like buildings and inspections, or, if they have something like that. But even in the public safety building, right, they've reduced that traffic, to a minimum as well. So,
Well,
but
the
that's fine.
only reason it was suggested, Mr. Mosby, was because I've been approached by several people, and thank you again, Mary Jo, for encouraging me to turn my camera on so that everybody knows who I am when I go to the North College Hill Kroger store. So I've been approached by several people who have just explained to me that they don't have access to the kind of technology that will allow them to participate in our virtual meetings. So that was the reason why I suggested that we had a hybrid model, that we made it so that anyone who wants to participate in our meetings can. They shouldn't be precluded from participating because they don't have a laptop or a smartphone. And believe it or not, there are still people with flip phones. I met a lady, and that's still a thing. So I just wanted to make sure that anyone who wants to participate in our meetings can. And that is why I suggested that. I don't really believe that we'll have a ton of people who show up, but there were a few people who did approach me, and I wanted to be responsive to that.
Yeah, and like you said, although I would doubt it as well, particularly I think because many people are taking very seriously, and particularly in our area, are taking very seriously, some of the mandates that are going forward, that are being promulgated. But, in that event that we have, 10 or 15 people, what I would say is that we would have to limit, the number of people that would actually be able to have access and enter into the building. So, yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone is clear on that, whether you're sitting on council or whether it's somebody that's listening to this, that I wouldn't want them to think that simply because we were saying, okay, we're going to have a hybrid meeting, now that just means that, several people can come into the building and have access to it that way.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I would like to say real quick, though, that I think that Mr. Graver and myself are the only two council members that said that, hey, we would like to go back. And I know that I could definitely direct traffic as far as people coming into our city center when it comes to socially distancing themselves. I could definitely ask them, hey, 6 feet apart, please don't get close, since there is only the two of us that have, or even if we all went back, I think that we have plenty of space to ask people to spread out and spread thin. And I have been to city council meetings where there's been, 30 people, and more recently, before we were before the pandemic happened, most of our council meetings had 6 people in the audience. And so I think that it's fair to say that we can definitely 100% make sure that people are spreading far and few away from one another.
Okay.
Madam Chair, that was my question, who would be there at 6:30 or 7:30 to let the citizens into the building? That was going to be my question. Thank you.
Well, certainly I think that we'll still try to move forward with that. We'll bring that up at the council meeting, and we'll just go ahead. I don't think we need a motion to refer this out of committee to council. We'll just go ahead and send it out of committee to council, and or do we? Is Matt, are you paying attention to me?
You could just get a general consensus,
Okay.
because you can't really vote on anything in committee,
Right.
but as long as everyone is, that's the way I understand it anyhow.
Okay. How does everybody feel about sending this out to council?
I think
Yes.
it's a marvelous idea.
Yes.
I'm of course I'm taking notes for my minutes. Is Mary DeWald really here twice, or is that somebody else logged in as her?
She is really here twice.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple other points that I'd like to make
Okay.
before we end this meeting.
Sure.
One point is, Miss Underwood, I don't know if you've ever looked at the, I know Mr. Mosby posted on the Facebook page. I think it's posted on the city page also. But when we send out the public link, there is also a phone number included in that. So if someone did not have access to the internet, they could still call in, even on their flip phone
Okay.
or from their landline, and they wouldn't have any video, obviously, but they could listen
They
to
could
all
still
the
listen
audio.
in. Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know that I was aware of that.
Okay, so that's one option for them. And I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say we're not going to have a sudden influx of folks that want to come to a council meeting, and that would be like all of a sudden everyone's going to change their mind and want to come to a council meeting while we're in the middle of a pandemic, because
Well,
typically we only had 2 or 3 maybe people in the audience, and one of them is now on council. So
well,
there we go.
What I will say is that when governors start telling people that they have to stay home, and people don't have anything else to do in the evenings, one thing that they can do is they can show up for city council meetings.
Yeah, I'm not
random
saying they can't.
council meetings, right? I mean, it sounds like
where I was going with that though is, let me finish that thought before I lose it. So if we got to that point, we could set up a remote room, like we could send them to, I don't mean that to sound the way that came out, but ask people to move like into the caucus room, and we could dial in on that speaker phone in there and put it on speaker. Or there are other, if it came down to it, we could figure something out and make it work.
okay.
We have options. That's where I'm going with this. There are options.
Alrighty.
Yes, Madam Chair, I am the Northwood Council star.
Okay, well, I think that's all we have, unless someone else has something. Then what I suggest
Ms. Bailey does.
what I suggest we do is adjourn this meeting and come back in 8 minutes on the dot
Do we
So
have
we can-
another link? Is it the same link? Same
It-
link?
It's
Okay.
the same link. So just
I-
literally
I
turn your
do-
camera off and turn off your speaker, and we'll start right at 7 o'clock on the dot.
Well, right quick, I do have something that I kind of just want to drop out there for everybody to think about. It is along the same
Is it related
lines.
to this resolution?
Yes, it is. It is,
Okay.
and it is along the same lines. With virtual meetings being extended until July 1, there is an option for us to use CARES Act money to provide our council members with surfaces or the like of, so that way we can all be on, basically, we would be on a secure network, virtual meetings, and we wouldn't have to worry about all of this technology stuff that we have of not being able to see each other, not being able to read each other, not being able to hear each other. So
Can I elaborate on the word Surface? It's like a Microsoft Surface Go. It's a PC, basically.
I know what it is.
All right. Well, I don't know that everyone does, so I just wanted to
Ah.
make sure everyone was clear.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of
basically an
people-
iPad by another vendor. How's that?
I hear, okay, well, I will,
Madam Chair, can I ask a question of Ms. Bailey though? Because she used a term and I need to know what she meant. Ms. Bailey, you used the term secure network. What did you mean when you said that?
So basically they're I guess locked down from you guys. I would guess you guys, that would just allow certain apps or certain, like, basically we would have access to our Gmail and a Zoom, and that's it. So that way it keeps everything else, spamware, whatever it is, from coming onto the surface. Like literally the only purpose of it would be for these meetings and to correspond back to each other. That's it. That's all.
well, and again, I know that we have CARES Act money. And I will absolutely add that on as a continuing agenda item. I don't know if we need to do that, but I mean, I think, it's certainly worth discussion. If, that's kind of how I just feel like I would feel a little grimy and slimy doing something like that, like taking CARES Act money to buy a computer just so I can participate in virtual meetings and respond to email. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But, again, certainly willing to have the conversation. I think that's, appropriate for us to do.
Real quick though, how grimy would you feel though so I use Apple, I use iMac. So for me, how grimy would you feel that your iMac or your Windows PC was completely taken over and somebody else had access to all of your city documents?
What do you mean?
So with us using our personal computers all the time for this, and I don't use my personal computer for very much at all, but we open the door for people to come in and to have all of our city documents, our emails. For me, like, I have a password to the website that would be easily obtainable through my personal computer. And that would make me feel grimy if there was a security breach based off of my personal iMac. So I get it. Like, I'm not out here.
Again, Amber,
just to have a service.
I think I know I'm stuttering. It sounds like, well, I will leave it on as a continuing agenda item, and let's talk about it, and then we'll send it to council, or maybe we'll just send that to council too, and we'll add that to the next council meeting agenda. That way it doesn't get lost in committee. So, okay. Anything else? Look, Marjorie, you came to the meeting by accident. Okay, well, it is 6:57, so we might as well just hang around. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the Public Safety the Special Public Safety Committee meeting. And just then we'll let Mr. Graver take over there.
All right, thanks, Miss Underwood. Jason, you have a graphic that you'll hit up on there at 7 o'clock then?
No, the other graphic actually had both.
Oh, the graphic had both.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go. All
I
right.
can leave this
Thanks,
up for a
guys.
few minutes so everybody's not on screen in between the meetings.
Perfect.
Perfect.
That works.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No worries.
All right, Jason, ready to go. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the special council meeting for the North College Hill City Council. As always, we will start with our prayer. Then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. God, our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Now I'll call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Here.
Miss Blythe,
Here.
Miss Underwood,
Here.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Here.
Miss Orb,
Here.
Miss Hartman,
Here.
Miss Anderson,
Here.
all present.
Thank you, Ms. Dewald. All right, you have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Bailey, second from Ms. Anderson to adopt tonight's agenda. Discussion. All right, please call the roll, Ms. Dewald.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. So this special meeting was called for two pieces of legislation. I will turn it back over to you, Ms. Dewald.
We have a first reading on Resolution 2020. I find it a little funny that this is about masks. Just never mind. A resolution to urge Governor DeWine and the Ohio legislature to extend the deadline for operating public meetings electronically.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend second and third reading of Resolution 2020.
Discussion?
Mr. President, I'll second that.
All right, so the motion is for Ms. Bailey. Ms. Underwood's got a second in there. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
do we want to go this route or do we just want to table it indefinitely?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
either way, we have to suspend second and third.
No, you don't. We can table it right now.
Yeah, I don't think we have to suspend readings to table it.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
at one point in time, I was told that tabling something indefinitely was against our council rules by Mr. O'Shea, so.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mr.
I'm
President,
pretty sure it's in Robert's rules or Roger's rules, whoever has all the rules.
it's Robert, and Mr.
Ms.
President,
Underwood?
we're not going to allow you to extend this meeting beyond 5 minutes.
All right, so we have the motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings of Resolution 20-2020 by Ms. Bailey, second from Ms. Underwood. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Bailey, second from Ms. Underwood to adopt Resolution 20-2020. Discussion? Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
No.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
No.
Mr. Miller Novak,
No.
Ms. Zorb,
No.
Ms. Hartman,
No.
Ms. Anderson.
No.
Motion to adopt fails by a vote of 6-1. Motion fails.
Thank you, Ms. Dewald. Please continue.
We have a third reading on Resolution 17-2020, declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the county auditor to certify to matters in connection therewith and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 17-2020.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion from Ms. Bailey, second from Ms. Zorb to adopt Resolution 17-2020. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
yes,
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 7-0.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is comments from the audience. I do not see any audience members.
President,
Ms. Bailey, is that you?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Anderson to adjourn this special meeting. Discussion? Please
We
call
missed
the
the 5-minute deadline.
roll. Sorry. Please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 7-0.
All right, thank you for everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Stay safe. Thanks, Jason.
Good night.